some noise for.
I told him when I come back, we're going swimming. So, tell everybody thank you for them. Скажи, дякую.
Дякую.
Не, английский.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, что? Very much. Еще раз.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Future president of Ukraine right here. All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm not going to waste any time. I've got Starsky in here, and we're going to have an incredible conversation on what is unfolding probably the next 24 hours. We've had many important 24 hours, but the next 24 hours for sure, where we are anticipating the call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin tomorrow morning, America time, afternoon, early evening, Moscow time. We'll see what unfolds. Additionally, I want to get him in here. The mods will be taking care of it as far as the flag. I want to give away a free flag today. No purchase, guys. This is just our way of saying thank you. And here it is. It's like a meter by meter and a half, 3 foot by 5 foot. Signed, autographed by Fish. He partners with us in our work there. The dude is a hero fighting. I won't tell you where he's at right now, but very important where Fish is at. And his partner with him in the front line drew a picture of Taras Shevchenko on this flag. And guys, this is autographed straight from the front. All you have to do is, and let me handle this very carefully. All you have to do is click the link pinned in the description. You put your name and email address. After it's over and we confirm it through email, I delete all of that stuff. So you're not going to get spammed. Your name's not going to get shown on anything, your email address, but I will use the name you use there, and we will spin a wheel at the end. A lot of new people that are here now, since the channel's been growing like crazy, you don't know that we do this regularly, and you have a chance to win it. No donation, nothing. It's just our way to say thank you to people of the world for standing with Ukraine. So you'll see that. It's pinned in the description. The moderators will be dealing with it. Please go to the little sheet, sign your name and email, and we'll spin the wheel. You must be present to win because that's just the way it is. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all that you do. And let's get right to it. Welcome, everybody. Operator Starsky. Welcome, my friend.
Hello, my brother. Hello, dear viewers. Thank you very much for having me tonight on your stream.
Thank you very much, my friend. And I think today is a very important stream because we're going to see a lot of things happening over the next 24 hours, probably. We're going to go through it and talk about it a little bit. And basically the format for tonight, guys, is this. Starsky already has the information that we're going to be talking about. We prepared ahead. And I'm basically going to, I think what I'll do is lay the info out and then get your response, your expertise. For those of you that do not know Operator Starsky, which I guess is zero, you can find his channel there at Operator Starsky. Do you want to there may be some people here that don't know you. I mean, I don't know, but you want to give just a little bit of your background and then we'll get going.
Yeah, sure. I'm a Ukrainian veteran, 10 years in the infantry. I spent 6 years from those 10 years working as a press officer for the 4th Operative Brigade of the National Guard, Rubizh, the glorious Hostomel Brigade. And now I'm working as journalist and observer on the UA TV and debunking Russian disinformation and propaganda as much as I can, because there's a lot of it today.
There is a lot of it, and we're going to be looking at that. And You know what? You debunk the Russian misinformation. I'll help you with that. I'll debunk the American misinformation and you help me with that. How about that's a good partnership? So thank you for
Sounds
that.
great. Sounds great.
And thank you for your service to your country. And you know, you and I've talked many times during the war, and I was in places where you fought and you asked, how is it there? And, you know, some unfortunately stories on some of those places, but other places we're standing strong and we'll see what unfolds. There's Leathercat coming in with a nice comment about you. Starsky is the absolute GOAT. There you go.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Likewise.
So guys, it's gonna be organized the best we can. The mods will be taking care of the flag sign up. I'll remind you. F Oink, thank you for the 1,000 Hungarian francs. And you know, Hungary's been in the news a lot. We'll be talking about that at some other time. He said, let's rename Greg to Hutch for the day and only address the host as Starsky and Hutch. That's a famous American television program from the 70s. Linda S. from Australia, gifting 10 memberships. Thank you. Adam Rounds, gifting 5 memberships. Papa Dutch in the house. The great state of California, $5 super chat, has determined that in the KGB may cause paranoia, psychiatric complications, and of course, reproductive harm. Not only that, they'll poison you and push you off the balcony. Johnny Nedregard, Norwegian Kroner 22. Petra Olsen with the Swedish non-smoking initiative to help Ukraine, 269 kroners. And Jay Adams, thank you, Ukraine. Europe must help more to defend freedom. 300 Swedish kroners. Thank you for that very much, Jay Adams. Guys, here we go. Make sure you're hitting the link there. And let's go. This is going to be really, really good. We're going to be talking a little bit about the twisted mind of Putin as it kind of narrates through, and you could see that in the thumbnail. But I want to start. So I'm going to put the info out there. I know Starsky will be, he always, in other streams we do, he's reading the chat and communicating with you guys as well. So we'll be looking, the mods are sending me messages, and away we go. BB, thank you for gifting the 10 memberships there. Great moderator and a part of our team there. Pyro Kurt Brubaker and Dunk on U23 and Skegheg and many others. Thank you guys for all that you do. So tomorrow morning, White House just reconfirmed Putin's calling is going to receive a call from Trump. The conversation with Putin will focus on, and these are the things that Donald Trump has said, and it is confirmed by the White House. Let me play this video first, then I'll read you these statements, and then you give us your opinion. Here we go. This is the video of him on the plane.
See if we have something to announce maybe by Tuesday. I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday, and a lot of work's been done over the weekend. We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance. I think we'll, be talking about land. It's a lot of land. It's a lot different than it was before the war, as you know. And we'll be talking about land. We'll be talking about power plants, because that's up. It's a big question. But I think we have a lot of it already discussed very much by both sides.
You'll ask him.
Ukraine and Russia.
You'll ask him.
We're already talking about that, dividing up certain assets.
So you can hear his statement point blank, and now Starsky, the White House, revealing that the conversation, and these are statements from the White House this afternoon, press secretary, will focus on Zaporizhia nuclear power plant there in Energodar. And White House, we're prepared to use more leverage if the talks do not go well. We are 10 yards from peace and have never been closer. That is a direct statement from his press secretary, which means it's a football, American football statement, meaning we're close to a touchdown. And then on multiple sources tonight, and I didn't put it in a slide because I always like to make sure with 5-10 sources, but there have already been conversations about Crimea now being reported more and more in regard to that land and in regard to even UN recognition and American recognition. So we start there. You heard Trump. You see what they're going to be talking about. What are your thoughts on how this is going to look tomorrow?
My thoughts are that, he should clarify, is it like 10 yards away or 10 yards deep? Because that's exactly where I see Ukraine after Unfortunately, after his so-called peace initiatives, one thing that I clearly notice, and I'm not sure, maybe you noticed that as well, is way before the 30-day ceasefire agreement that Ukraine offered and agreed to, basically, way before that, as soon as he cut the intelligence to Ukraine and cut the military aid to Ukraine, he started looking extremely satisfied all of a sudden. As soon as Ukrainian forces started withdrawing from Suja, Trump started looking, to me personally, maybe you noticed that as well, but he's cheering. He says, now everything goes according to plan. Now we have like complete understanding with Putin, which is something very hard to hide. Maybe you noticed that. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
No, I agree with you completely. I honestly believe that there are backdoor talks going on between the United States and Russia. There's no question about that. Both sides has even made statements about there have been between teams conversations going on. We know there'll be an official call tomorrow between Trump and Putin, but for sure we see the change in attitude. It's interesting, once that intelligence stopped, it went from dictator Zelensky to President Zelensky. It was not just mannerisms, but it was actual behavior. Oh, the honorable Ukrainians. It was Lindsey Graham who 2 weeks prior to the 28th of February, Vladimir Zelensky is the best leader in the world since Winston Churchill. On the 28th of February, he stated, I don't know who that evil guy is. We need to get rid of him and get a new president in there. And now, after, great point, things start settling out in that Suja area, the Kursk. All of a sudden, Lindsey Graham goes, you know what? We need to supply Ukraine with weapons and intelligence. It's, you nailed it, brother. And this is what people are missing. It's almost as if you can even see his face on that airplane. It's like he's gloating. He's gloating. You know, I'm confident.
That's what I'm saying, because before that he was extremely reluctant to even, I don't know, talking to Zelensky at all. There was information coming from the White House that, well, most probably Zelensky should try harder, you know, trying to apologize to President Trump for like insulting him. And generally speaking, that disaster in the Oval Office, when did it start? It started exactly after President Zelensky started showing the evidence of Russian atrocities to Donald Trump, to J.D. Vance, as if they didn't want the media to hear about that. So they started interrupting him and shouting at him. And after that, we can see, as soon as the situation in Suja changed, we can see this immediate shift to like absolutely different narratives. That looks to me very, very interesting, because to me it looks as if Donald Trump completely supports Russia at this moment, and there are no indications that he even considers talking about stopping the Russian invasion, because we're talking not just about some abstract war, we're talking about the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the ways to stop it. Trump uses wrong narratives about it, because he portrays it as if it's, you know, some kind of conflict between two nations that could have been prevented and yada yada, but at the same time it's not a conflict, it's an invasion. And we are talking about stopping an invasion and returning the invaders back home.
That is the disconnect, but unfortunately he's caught in his own narcissistic loop. It's like a loop, because he constantly repeats, if I had been in office, it would have never happened. And that is the narrative that he uses everywhere. It doesn't matter whether it's the invasion of Ukraine, which is now full-scale war, the withdrawal of Afghanistan, and now we are seeing, and Ukraine needs to pay attention to this, because I personally have a narrative And I'm going to be developing it more on my channel. But I personally believe a lot of the things that are happening, of course, in the invasion of Ukraine, but also with the partnerships between Iran, North Korea, China, the Houthis attacking the American fleet in the Red Sea, Trump giving a red line to Iran. If you strike here, we're going to demolish Iran. We know Iran and Russia, although it's not militarily binding, have new partnerships and agreements. Iran supplies Russia with Shaheeds and that technology. You have a huge loop here. And on the Ukraine narrative, I think it touches all. I just see the war in Ukraine, the Russian horrible invasion of Ukraine, of course, epicenter there with Vladimir Putin, but it's so much larger than the Trump administration wants to admit. It's so much larger, and I guess we could say it this way, potentially, than they even have the ability to understand, because they take their information from very poor sources. I mean, and if you're getting bad information, then you're not going to have the proper outlook.
I agree on that because the other day he was repeating after Putin, like a fanboy or something, that there are 5,000 Ukrainians completely surrounded in the Kursk region, and I beg President Trump to President Putin, or the same thing, to spare them and stuff. Trump has access to the best intelligence in the world. Literally. But instead of using this intelligence to assess the situation as it is, he literally repeats after Putin, who always lies. He started lying about the Ukrainian troops incurring the Kursk region in August last year when it started, when the operation started. All kinds of Russian authorities were lying that Ukrainian troops were already eliminated. 8 months after that, by using 1/4 of their troops that are currently actively engaged in combat in Ukraine and Kursk, they managed to push the Ukrainian troops out of Suja. Nobody is surrounded, but Trump, instead of using his own assets, his own intelligence agencies, he just repeats the lies after Putin. The statement that, you know, this could be avoided if, like, I was the ruler, it's a nonsense and it's a lie, and he uses that literally, you know, to fill the gaps in his speech. Like, he literally uses this phrase out of context every single time. I have no idea. Probably it's because he's like a narcissist, like you say, but it doesn't make sense at all. This very phrase. We know that it's like literally a lie, and he likes to, you know, brag a lot in the social media. He likes people to admire him and stuff like that, which again makes me feel so sick looking at this person. Even from like a human standpoint, leaders don't behave like that. I would not follow a dude who has such a like enormous ego like that. It's just, you know, distracting.
Well, it's very obvious, even so, that plane ride right there where I played that video clip, he's coming back from Florida, where he said, and, you know, well, you've had such a great weekend. His great weekend was he won his golf tournament there at his local club. But it just shows, and he tweets about it. Then he puts it out there. I won the championship of my golf. And I know, you know, you're Ukrainian and golf is not a big sport in Ukraine, but here in the United States, just to even tweet that, he's just gloating about that while the world is on fire. He's more concerned about tweeting that I won the championship of my golf tournament there in Florida, and now I'm going to come back, call Putin, and I think we're going to get this thing solved here and have a peace. So this is the ego. That's exactly the word that's being used there. And, you know, you bring up a very good point, a very good point. First of all, you are a Ukrainian veteran and you are a Ukrainian. You know Ukraine. Secondly, you know military strategy and you know the power of the propaganda of Russia. So you put those three things together, Starsky, and you're an expert on this with the track record to prove it. I've worked in Ukraine for now, it will be my 28th year. And running these front lines with my partner Zhenya, dropping aid. I've been in the Kursk Oblast. I've been everywhere on the front line. Everywhere. I was in Bakhmut when Bakhmut was the hottest. Everywhere. When he repeats the information of the Putin propaganda machine about military information, it takes no education, no experience at all to recognize he has no idea what he's talking about. It's just a repeat. So if you have any experience, any understanding, you know that it is a lie, as we call it, the surrounding of the troops there in the Kursk Oblast. All you have to have known is any type of mapping skills at all to look at trusted geotags and trusted sources, and you know that that story's technically impossible. He's repeating the narrative for a purpose. So I'm very glad you brought that up because I hadn't thought about it. You know, Donald Trump, you're right. He's got the access to the greatest technology on the globe, which means A, he's not looking at it or using it, or B, he's just repeating what he's being told. The only other thing I would say in regard to that, and we'll move on to the next thing, is, you know, Russia made a full press there, 60 or 70,000 troops. And now as we're pulling back, we've got a lot of Russian troops up on that pushing closer to the Sumy border there. And we need to watch that. Additionally, up to about 12,000 is the number I've heard, North Korean troops. And the only statement that Donald Trump has made over the past 48 hours about North Korea, which is a foreign nation of boots on the ground, fighting, supplying weapons. Thank you for those coffees there. Hubert, my friend, you're very welcome for the stream. The only statement he made about North Korea is he reiterated that he has a good relationship with Kim Jong-un and it's his friend. That's it. That is the only statement, man. That's it.
What can I say? Generally, if you consider what J.D. Vance says about like propaganda tours in Bucha, right?
Yes.
If you consider what Trump says about President Zelensky being a dictator who started the war and stuff like that, there is nothing to literally, there is nothing to discuss. They don't play 5D chess. This is like their real and true standpoint. This is what they really feel about Ukraine. This is how they feel about Ukraine. They don't believe in Russian atrocities. And generally speaking, judging from like their reaction every single time, they either make statements or try to make counter statements. It seems to me that they protect the image of the Russian Federation even better than Lavrov. Apparently, when Trump is out of office, he will have like a great position to get employed to, in Russia, because nobody protected Russian reputation and Russian image better than current Trump administration, together with Elon Musk and J.D. Vance.
One of the things that's interesting to me, and I'm kind of watching it kind of work its way through the chat. We have a great chat here on the channel, and just good people, so caring, so generous, and really in tune, very educated chat. Great group of people. And I know you recognize a lot of those names as well, my friend. But they're taking the conversation in the chat where they're going, okay, he's talking about peace. We haven't even gotten to a truce yet. And that's the interesting thing. It's like we're 10 yards from peace. That's what the White House said. We do not even have a truce. In fact, right now, this is what Ukraine looks like right now. This is the active air raid alarms in all the way over to Kyiv and Cherkasy, down to Mykolaiv, Kherson, Kirovograd, and everything else east of that. So you're talking about peace. We've got shaheeds and whatever else is flying around. And even, I didn't go with this story because it's just so disgusting. We're going to talk about the children in just a few minutes. But yesterday in Kherson, on what is so disgustingly called the human safari, that city, which I know so well, and I love Kherson. We base out of Kherson and do a lot of work down there on the river. FPV drones were literally chasing children trying to play on their playground at their flat, their apartment. Why? How? I can't answer the question, and I know you can't answer it either, but how is that just not obvious to what is truly going on here? Now, I want to ask you a question. I waited for multiple confirmations of this because it started about 18 hours ago. And the news started to trickle out about a United States decision against Russia. And I saw it on one source, then another source, then another source, and then Ukraine reported it. And I says, okay, I've got 5 or 6 sources here. I'm going to go with it. And I want to see what the opinion is. This is actually coming out of the Ukrainian news, but it's everywhere. EU confirms U.S. withdrawal from group investigating Russia's war crimes in Ukraine. I title this, "What Else Do You Need to Know?" This decision is yet another indication of Trump's departure from holding Putin accountable for crimes committed against Ukrainians. What's your thoughts on this? Because this is happening.
I can tell you this. It's obvious that Trump administration currently has absolutely zero strategy to settle the Russian invasion, but they have very clear communication strategy as of now, from what I can tell, because when the talks about the peace talks started, even in the end of January, they didn't have communication strategy either. The Keith Kellogg and J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, they were saying absolutely different things. But it seems to me that currently they have a very clear communication strategy with very clear talking points, right? You don't talk about Russian atrocities. You never mention this. You never mention Russia as an invader. You never mention Ukraine's right and the right to have just peace, right? And just peace means Russian withdrawal from the territory of Ukraine. You don't mention that. You always mention that you are trying to establish peace, the long-lasting peace between Russia and Ukraine. And also you mentioned that, guys, Ukraine has no cards. You don't have any power. Russia has all the power in the world. It already surrounded 5,000 troops in Kursk, even though they only exist in Trump's imagination. And you have to make concessions if you want to survive. So those are their talking points from what I can tell. I'm not sure who created this communication strategy, all those narratives for them. I'm sure that it's either Paul Manafort or I smell Russians here, seriously. But this is what we can see based on their narratives. Also never mention Russia as an aggressor, and there were multiple cases when the U.S. authorities were asked directly, do you recognize Russia as invader? And they could not answer because it goes strictly against their communication agenda. So this is what we see. As for the withdrawal of the United States from this committee, we already know that this is the case. I believe that New York Times was the first one who reported about it. And the reason for that is basically the same. This is part of their communication strategy. They will not prosecute the criminals. Basically, how do you convince Ukrainians to, give up their territory, to make territorial concessions, if you are investigating, Russian atrocities at the same time? It's either one or another. So this is why they withdrew. Apparently, again, because they were pressured by Russians, or because it was one of the Russian demands to the United States. Because this executive order, as far as I understand, it was signed like just recently.
So let me interject this, and you can answer. So it sounds to me, as I listen to all the facts you are putting together, and they make complete logical sense, there is already a Russian narrative playing out through the White House in regard to Ukraine. It's obvious to see. That's what I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just asking. Is that what you're describing?
Yes, absolutely. For example, take that resolution that was proposed by the United States in the United Nations, which again doesn't mention Russia as an aggressor, doesn't mention Russia as an invader, doesn't put any responsibility on Russia for invading a foreign country, violating the international law, violating all sorts of laws that were basically adopted by the United Nations. And from that point, from that moment, we can see that this communication strategy was already established. I believe that this withdrawal from the committee could be, a reaction to some of the Russian demands that were delivered to Witkoff, for example, and Witkoff delivered them to the Trump administration. Could be something like that, because Putin is extremely sad with the International Crime Court. We know about that. But there are two things that make me extremely concerned about this thing. First thing is that there may be a pressure done by the Trump administration on other European nations. We know that he already sanctioned the Prosecutor General in the International Crime Court. And there might be a pressure done on other countries. For example, I know that there was France, I'm not sure about Germany and Italy, but France 100%. The investigators who arrived, for example, to Bucha, and they were investigating Russian crimes. I saw them there personally back in 2022. So we will see if this will be the case, if he will try to pressure other countries to cancel their investigations and stop investigating Russian atrocities. And another thing is that since we already see the first step of Trump administration to stop investigating Russian crimes, what will be the next step? Will we see the investigators, American investigators, for example, investigating the cases of Ukrainian Nazi attacking the people of Donbass, crucifixion of a panty-wearing boy in Kramatorsk, American biolabs, and things like that? Will we see those cases? Because first step is already made, and the second step will apparently be directed against Ukrainians fighting there. It's not let's call it this way, I don't exclude the possibility that maybe already this year, people like me, for example, Ukrainian veterans, will be recognized as, I don't know, aggressors and war criminals. Could be the case. So there are two things that make me feel extremely concerned, specifically regarding this update.
Well, if that happens, I got your back and whatever I can bring to help you. I do have about half the 3rd Assault Brigade that'll come anywhere in the world to help me. So we'll get you back. I will tell you, though, in all seriousness, because it's a serious topic. For example, I have to watch my name because like my partner's name is in the list. And so I'm registered as well, openly and publicly. You know, so you can see, you know what that is, Ukrainian passport.
Yeah.
I'm a Ukrainian passport holder, and this is our NGO documents. And when you go on, you can look and see in certain lists where your name is registered or not registered, and all of that data Russia has. So we do, and you guys watching right now may be going, what are you guys talking about right now? You're actually talking about the whole story being turned around, and instead of going after Russia, coming after Ukrainians. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. The undertones are already there, and my team there in Khmelnytsky, they keep an eye on it nonstop, where our names are, what list we're in. And guys, you have to understand, like, when we're running everywhere and you go through the checkpoints, you get into certain regions that are even the most dangerous. For example, Kherson, or you enter over into deep Eastern Front area, Chasiv Yar, Tourette's line, all that way, or down towards Pokrovsk. Like all of your cell number, your IMEI, every registration you have, everything is wide open. And it is something that Ukrainians are paying very close attention to. So it's unbelievable for you probably sitting at your home right now watching this stream going, okay, I can't believe what Starsky just said or Greg just said, but we're telling you the truth. We're going from prosecuting the invader and finding out the war crimes and holding them accountable to there could be a narrative where it is absolutely flipped back on Ukrainians, because the beginnings of that work we've already seen. But that's not what we're fighting for.
Yeah. Brother, I would like to just briefly mention one thing. Look at Putin's objectives and generally Putin's demands. Ukraine not in NATO forever, right? That's not the proper sign. Ukraine not in NATO forever. Ukraine giving up its territories. Basically, what else? Change of the ruling government, right? And this is exactly the position of current Trump administration. Elections in Ukraine, in violation of Ukrainian constitution, of course. Then Ukraine never in the NATO, right? And Ukraine giving up the territories, again, it's confirmed by Waltz and by Trump that it will be the case. So they will be pushing Ukraine to give up some territory. There is a commentary in the chat from Stephen Meyer who says, I thought that The Hague is supposed to investigate and prosecute the war criminals and not the USA. This is true. Also, United States are not, they do not recognize the authority of the International Crime Court, as far as I remember. But at the same time, there are American investigators, and there were several projects that were investigating, helping collect data, helping process data to help Ukraine investigate and collect the evidence of the Russian committed crimes against Ukrainians. It doesn't matter if this is United States or The Hague. It doesn't matter at all, because there was a committee specifically created in order to collect those evidence of the Russian crimes to help bring the criminals to justice. And it's a proper thing. I mean, Ukrainians always help. For example, we are part of Interpol. Ukrainians cooperate with other organizations. It doesn't matter if you're a member of those countries that recognize or not recognize The Hague. It's a political decision, so you can do that, basically. So those projects that were established to investigate Russian atrocities, they lost their financing because the USAID was shut down for a while, and apparently they will not receive any more funds from the USAID. And also we can see that this commission is also being the participation of the United States in this commission also finished, unfortunately.
Correct. Guys, we're going to move on. I'm going to show you a Lindsey Graham clip that tags along with Trump, and then we're actually going to move to Umarov. But if you're here, 830 watching currently in the chat, and if you haven't signed up, I know the mods are talking about it. I'll say it one more time, and then we'll do a call and draw it later. But this is a free flag. I love to give these away just to say thank you guys for standing with Ukraine, supporting Ukraine, autographed by Fish. They're on the front lines, and his partner working with him in his particular job for the Ukrainian military. This partner actually drew the picture there of the Ukrainian legend, Taras Shevchenko, such a hero of Ukraine, culturally, linguistically, etc. If you want something good to look up Taras Shevchenko, and you can learn a lot about Ukrainian culture and history. But this is actually autographed directly from Ukraine. No money, nothing. This is just our way, my way, our team. Even I know Starsky, it's from him. It's from everybody. Thank you for standing with Ukraine. You hit the link in the chat, put your name and email address. You will not be spammed. It's just the name. We'll spin the name at the end of the stream. If you're present in the chat, you win it, and I'll put it in the mail to you. And all the email addresses get deleted. We've done it many times. So thank you. Prepper Nation H, $5 super chat. Speaking of Hutch Starsky, how is our buddy Futch doing lately?
I've seen several pictures lately, and he's fine. He's fine. He lives in a family with a little girl. They have this very, very strong bond right now, and they feed him like a pig. So he looks fluffy and round.
Fluffy and round is good. Daniela Murphy gifting 5 memberships. Danny Carver becoming a crew member. Welcome to the Hope Train. David L. $10 super chat. What are the best ways to support Ukraine presently?
It literally depends on what you do best, because if we want to do something good, we gotta do what we're best at. So it literally depends on what you want to do. It depends on your skills and your experience. There are people that can go to Ukraine and help either by joining military or by helping Ukrainian civilians, first responders, things like that. There are people who can collect humanitarian aid. But if we are talking about the informational warfare, we've got to be very active in the social media. One thing that is extremely important to understand right now, guys, there will be a very hard informational war in Europe currently. Russia today announced recruiting journalists and bloggers with the only condition they should be able to speak English language, and basically they are hiring the personnel for their propagandist infrastructure right now, their propagandist ecosystem, and we will see them acting and retransmitting the Kremlin's narratives in the European countries very, very soon after they finish their courses. And Russia spends enormous funds on this. This is something that no other country does. Again, unfortunately, because European countries can literally do that. They can make courses, for example, for content creators, and literally from scratch, they can easily create an army of people who would combat the Russian disinformation and debunk Russian lies, but they don't do that. And also, they don't spend, and they cannot spend such tremendous resources on combating the Russian disinformation. However, it's extremely, extremely important. Everybody knows that. So one thing that users, common people can do in order to help fight Russian disinformation is literally share the content of the content creators like Greg, for example. So if you literally share the link to this video and to all other videos, you will do a lot, literally, because Russia finds people and pays them money in order to push Russian disinformation into the informational space and share it among the huge number of internet users. And if you do that, you will literally multiply their efforts by zero, literally by sharing the content that is created by content creators like Greg and other people. So this is one thing that you can do today.
Great answer. And honestly, everybody can do something. You find something, but really when it comes down to it, the one thing that we all can do is share. And you talk to your neighbor, you write your politicians. There's a laundry list, but really, this is a grassroots effort, especially now with the pressure coming against Americans. That is, they're completely lost. And in general, some of these are really good people. And I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, they are absolutely gone. They have drank the poison, they have swallowed the Kool-Aid, and they are lost. And the only thing we can do is combat it every day. And thank you guys for doing that. Additionally, here
I would like, brother, very, very shortly. I would also like to mention one thing. Currently, we can see that Trump administration is trying to disrupt as many ties with other countries as possible, starting from like their closest neighbors like Canada and everybody else. Russian propagandists use this in order to broaden the gap, to extend this gap between those countries by throwing their narratives in the comments every single time. For example, some angry Canadian would say, F all Americans, I hate you, and things like that. They're trying to bolster the hatred between the nations. And this is something we should also remember. Don't target the people, target those who are responsible for this. We know that Trump administration is 100% responsible for what nowadays is happening between United States and Canada, but on the level of people, because people can always find the common language and we can solve all the problems, right? Because we have the power. On the level of people, we should always have respect. I know a lot of people that are angry at Americans for electing Trump. Yes, there is such a case, but I'm a communication expert. I worked a lot in terms of election campaigns. I worked a lot in public relations, media relations, etc. I know how they do it, how they make it possible. They pay huge money for their PR teams to shape the opinion of the population. That is why I don't really blame the people. As a former communication specialist, I don't really blame the people. The work of a professional politician is basically to lie, right? I know it's wrong. I know that it's not supposed to be like that, but if you want to be elected, lie a lot, tell crazy stories, tell that people would not die if you were a president, right? Tell that the wars would not have started if you were a president, and things like that. I know a lot of extremely nice people who voted for Trump and now they regret it. But again, I will not blame those people because I know how communications work and they are effective. And if you take a look at the Russian informational warfare, it is extremely effective because throughout how much, like 8 years, right? It took Russians 8 years to completely brainwash the American population that went and massively voted for somebody who now wants to give up Ukrainian territory to Putin and basically looks at him like a fanboy. So always have respect, guys. Always be more positive and less toxic. Toxicity is something that is fueling the Russian informational warfare. That is the foundation of the Russian informational warfare. Russian propaganda never creates good content. They never create anything motivational. And it is our responsibility to motivate other people. And in order to do that, we gotta be less toxic.
Dude, I want to come through there and kiss your bald head right now. And we're keeping this, very professional and very informational. But for those of you guys on, members of my community and the Hope Train and all that, you just heard Starsky preach my sermon, my message, that is the answer. And it's not just this crazy go down this toxic hole and try to destroy it that way. All you have done is played exactly the game they want you to play. We have to be above it. And look, I'm a believer, light defeats darkness, and we will overcome, but we can't play their game of toxicity. And see, this is exactly what we see in the Trump administration, playing the same game of toxicity. Beautiful point there, whether it be about Canada, Panama Canal, Greenland, et cetera, et cetera. It is being used extensively to promote that campaign that you're discussing so brilliantly and so beautifully. Well stated, my friend. Thank you. It's unbelievable. Really, really good statement there. Let me do this. Danny Carver gifting 5 memberships. Dunk on you, working late tonight. One of our great moderators, Slava Ukraini. Hope you're feeling better. Dunk gifting the 10 memberships. Johnny Nedregard, Norwegian Island Dweller, gifting a membership. F. Oink, Hungarian Franks 2000, 10 yards from peace. If anything, Trump drove a wedge between Ukraine and Russia, pushing back the chance on peace. Great statement. You can see Starsky agreeing with you there. Blonde Bombshell, our $20 super chat. Okay, awesome chat. Go hit the like and sign up for the free flag giveaway. I want to respect this beautiful flag. There's Shevchenko. It is not on the floor. It's sitting right here respectfully in the stool beside me. Paul Gudeberitz, Norwegian Kroner 100. Do either of you have an excuse for Trump's behavior that proves he is not FSB? What are your thoughts on that? The narrative of the FSB, and how have you
I will tell you
that?
this. I will tell you this. If I'm asked if I believe that he can possibly be recruited by like KGB, right, in the late 80s, I would say 100% possible.
There you go.
Do I believe that he is? I think it's possible. Do I have like any confirmation or proof? Of course not. But I have points that are aligned between Trump and Putin. So basically, Trump wants the same as Putin. We already mentioned that Ukraine never to be a NATO member, Ukraine giving up territory, Ukraine changing the government, and things like that. The other day, they were talking about the territories that were primarily populated by Russian population that could be given to Russia, right? Where does it come from? Like primarily populated by Russians? I don't remember Ukraine being massively populated by Russians anywhere. There were a lot of Ukrainians, but I don't remember that we had literally, like an enclave of Russians living in some separate region. Euro 2012, you go to Donetsk Stadium, and you see all the seats. I was there too, and you see all the seats like waving Ukrainian flags.
Blue and yellow.
You would never see you would never see Russian flag in Donbass before 2013. Never. There were never people saying that I consider myself a Russian. There were guys, football hooligans, going on a battle against other football hooligans, wearing Ukrainian flags and Ukrainian scarves, and there was never a case where they would be like, some kind of group of Russian Russian ethnic minority or something living somewhere like in Crimea or Donbass. That's a nonsense. That's a lie, guys. But this narrative was born in Russia, and now we can see the same narrative coming from Trump. So do I believe that he can be a recruited agent of like KGB in the 80s? I think it's possible completely, because why would an American businessman go to a communist country that is not capitalist country, that is no free market? You cannot receive any income from a communist country. It's impossible. Why would he go there and buy property in Kremlin and then return to the United States? And by the way, shortly after that, he also tried to run for the presidency, and he already back then promoted the ideas that NATO is bad, right? So why would he do that? Well, there are no proofs but there are clues, right? And the very fact that he is aligned with Putin 100% nowadays doesn't necessarily indicate that he's a KGB spy. But at the same time, it indicates that he's Putin's ally, which is basically the same.
That's where I take it, regardless of how it washes out for the last 40 years. When it comes down to it, the behavior is what you evaluate today. The decision-making processes, the rhetoric, the words spoken, the narratives displayed, and obviously, absolutely, the pro-Russian narrative there. So whether it's, he was, groomed in the FSB, KGB, or he's at the minimum sympathetic, all of those are great to talk about, and maybe one day we'll have something uncovered. But regardless, all you have to do is look at the proof in the pudding, and that is the behavior on March the 17th, 2025, and that's all you need to know. David L., $20 super chat. Please hit the like and share button. Love to all of you. Pray that we stop Putin's genocidal war. Linda H., $20 super chat for the Sugar Cubes Fund. We give out those Sugar Cubes, Starsky, to soldiers. For personal drone detectors. Steve Sane, Australian 20. Trump lies. Putin's a liar, but all of Ukraine is Ukrainian. Always. Great comment. F. Oink, gifting 50 Hungarian memberships to the Hope Train. Thank you. Nadia Kolakowski, $10 super chat. Musk has everyone's information already. That's very accurate. And not only Musk. Let me go a little bit further. Some questions here for you, Starsky. Dr. Reagan.
If Musk has information on everybody, I swear I didn't visit those sites. That were my friends who opened my computer.
Dr. Reagan, Viva la France, $3.99 super chat. Misfit Toy, please specify where to look online to volunteer. I would start. You can look at United 24. There's also other good index sites there coming out of Kyiv. Richard Clements, Life on Two Wheels, new crew member. Thank you for joining the Hope Train. Papa Dutch, $5 super chat. Radio Free Europe was outmoded. I wonder if we can create an internet-free Europe organization. We have that, and I think that's what Operator Starsky is talking about. Through the power of the internet and the power of community, we're getting the message out, and we need you to help us amplify it as you do. Tito Valenzuela, $9.99. Honduras supporter of Ukraine. No matter what, our support for you guys will remain the same. Slava Ukraina, Geroim Slava do Permoga. Thank you for that, Tito, my friend from Honduras. Baynur W, gifting 5 memberships. Thank you. Papa Dutch, $2 super chat. Nothing destroys gaslighting better than laughter. That is true. And gaslighting is what we're going to be seeing out of the Kremlin over the next few days for sure. Ken Patterson, $10 super chat. Ukraine still holds high ground positions in Kursk region. Logistic routes are under fire. Can Operator Starsky add anything about your thoughts on what's going to happen in Kursk at the end?
Currently, Ukrainian troops have the strategic heights that go along the Kursk border. So unless Russians manage to incur deeper from the north in the Sumy region, um, which I doubt will happen because Ukraine made a lot of lines of defense in that area. So I don't believe that Russia will manage somehow to use that supply road to get closer to Sumy. You know, that won't happen. Sumy region is currently very well protected by multiple defense layers, so it's not really possible. What I see is that Ukraine will still keep some presence there, and maybe eventually they will have to withdraw depending on the situation, because the concentration of troops that Russians deployed against Ukrainian forces there is approximately 50,000 orcs. At this very moment, the whole number of personnel involved in active combat in Ukraine is around 200,000 men out of 650, 700,000 Russian troops. So that is almost a quarter of all the troops, all the infantry actively involved in combat against Ukraine. We will see. Maybe they will come to the conclusion that Russians don't need so many troops in that region, so they will stretch some reserves, for example, to the area of Pokrovsk, where Russians are suffering at this very moment, or Toretsk, because Russian offensive of Toretsk is falling very badly. We have some very inspiring information coming from the area of Pokrovsk. Not big, like not huge achievements, but the guys already have something to brag about. And in Toretsk, the situation is extremely dynamic, as far as we can tell from the OSINT and from the maps. So I think that Russians eventually will just relocate a bunch of their troops either north. Maybe not. I think they will relocate them to like Pokrovsk or Toretsk.
I completely agree with you.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. Or the Toretsk, they're trying to get a foothold up that hill into that southeastern corner of Konstantinivka, Chasiv Yar, Toretsk, and so that may be a push. They're just dropping the glide bombs quite regularly on that entire loop there. But I will concur with you. They're not coming to Sumy. That would be a death wish. I have worked in Sumy now for 3 years and watched the fortifications of Sumy go crazy. That would be a death wish. Ukraine is well defended. It is not flat territory. There's woodlands. It's up and down hills. There's river bottoms. Been through all of it. Then you come into Sumy proper, which, by the way, guys, being so close to the Russian border and the Kursk region, 30 minutes drive. And if it wasn't a war, probably 20. If you put the hammer down, you could be in Russia really quickly. It's not far at all, but it goes back to the other thing that Starsky was saying. Sumy is one of the most Ukrainian cities. You would think you're in Western Ukraine, like in Uzhgorod or something. I was so impressed when I first started going to Sumy, how Ukrainian it was. And it's right there. So all of those narratives, they're just the lies. But I can tell you firsthand witness, Sumy is extremely well defended, multiple layers deep. I want to get to this statement, and we'll start to wind down here. Starsky, you good for 15 more minutes, and we'll go 90 minutes? We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to get your comment on this statement here. Let me do this. Umarov made a statement on American media that Russia must unconditionally say yes to the truce offer. I say to this, well done. This is how it should be. I'm going to play the video clip, but Ukraine put the truce offer into play, the meetings out of Saudi Arabia, and put the cards on the table, including silence in the sea, the sky, and the ground, which was really well played. And now we see, you guys realize that's been days and days. This is what Russia does. They just play it out. But Umarov made this statement, and I want to just get your opinion on the last statement he makes. Here it is, guys. You may or may not have seen this.
For more on the ceasefire prospects and the situation along the front lines, we are pleased to be joined by Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov today from Kyiv. Thank you so much for your time today, Rustem. This is an important story, not just for your country, but for the entire world. And I guess I would simply begin by asking, do you share President Trump's optimism that a ceasefire may eventually happen?
We're, first of all, thankful to American people and American leadership for their security assistance, for the diplomatic efforts they're doing, and we support it. So now the ball is on Russian side, and we are continuing to conduct our planned operations, defensive operations.
Do you believe that Russia wants peace? And I guess the second part of that question is, do you trust Russian President Vladimir Putin?
We trust American people, we trust American administration, and we are supporting it. So the discussions that American administration is having with Russians, it's something that we will be soon be briefed about. But at the moment, as we said, the ball is on Russian side. If they wish to finish this war, they need to just unconditionally say yes to a U.S.
Okay, so there you have it, and we have to pay attention. You know, we're trusting the Americans. We're trusting them to represent us, our interest. We're grateful to the Americans. You know, that narrative of thankfulness that the Trump administration was fighting 10 days ago with Zelensky. But at the end, he says it must be an unconditional agreement. If you listen to him closely, and his English is very good, by the way, but an unconditional agreement to the American offer. So is this an unconditional agreement to the truce offer that we know that's on the ground publicly from Zelensky and the team? And is this what's going to happen? That's the question.
You see,
yeah,
he meant unconditional because as soon as Ukraine offered a ceasefire, Putin immediately started issuing like different demands. He said, in principle, I agree to have peace, right? But there are numerous nuances. And he started like, counting all those nuances, like what to do with Kursk, what to do with territories and yada, yada. So this is the way Russians always act, when they don't want to say, no, we don't agree, we'll just continue our offensive. And one of the most massive drone strikes that happened that day, I believe, is good proof that they don't really want peace. Russia didn't invade Ukraine because Russia wanted peace. Mm-hmm. If you want peace, you don't invade other countries, you don't kill other people, you don't rape toddlers, you don't kidnap and deport children, you don't indoctrinate them in the military camps for kids in Russia and things like that. That is not something, that I would call somebody who wants peace. But Ukrainian position is absolutely clear, because when somebody attacks you, your main message is stop attacking, stop shooting, stop committing violence, and then we can discuss something. So the decision must be made unconditionally, without any nuances, without any, what to do with the Zaporizhian power plant, what to do with like those 4 regions that we don't have control over, but we so much want it as part of the Russian Federation, that was the main message, I think.
Excellent. I think it's, I did this a couple days ago, or maybe yesterday. No, not yesterday. I think Saturday. This is what you're saying.
Most importantly, America and others shouldn't fall for Russia's butt.
That's it.
A ceasefire shouldn't come with a but.
That's
because
it.
This is a 30-day ceasefire.
Don't fall for Russia's butt. And that's what we're seeing unfolded, and I'm sure that's what we're going to see tomorrow. I want to ask your opinion. Guys, I'm giving you the 5-minute call on signing up for the flag raffle. I'm going to raffle it off. Make sure you go to the link, hit the mods. It's pinned there. If you want a chance to win this autographed Frontline battle flag straight from the front, would love just to show our care and appreciation to all of you for standing with Ukraine and sharing and supporting and fighting, doing what you can possibly do. So Subiga made a statement, and Starsky, I want your opinion on this because we hear all of the narratives coming out. He said over the last couple of days, Ukraine does not recognize the loss of land. Ukraine will also refuse to restrict for restrictions for the size of our armed forces. Ukraine is still aiming to join NATO and the EU in a peace agreement, directly from Subiga. And NATO accession for us is not being removed from the agenda, even though Trump and others are talking about it's not even possible. So this was his statement, and others, Subiga and Zelensky, and we can go through the whole list. Right now, Ukraine's best security defense as of today, March the 17th, 5:21 Eastern Standard Time, is its great army. And it has a great army. That's its best security guarantee right now. Plus, we can throw on top of that the machine, literally, I call it the war machine that Ukraine is developing with the technology of drones today, testing long-range weapons that reached over 3,000 kilometers. The adjustments of the Neptune missiles for long-range strikes. Ukraine doing an amazing job. But when you see statements like this coming from Subiga, is this how you think it's going to wash? Is this how Ukraine is going to stand with these types of points?
Absolutely. I don't see any Ukrainian who would like to either give up Ukrainian territory in exchange for peace, because how much territory is enough for Russia? That is good question. And another point that is missing there in the list is actually returning Ukrainian minors that were kidnapped by Russians.
Yes.
Because at this point there is almost 20,000 Ukrainian children currently hold captive in on the territory of the terrorist federation. So will Russians will Russians agree to return those kids back home? I don't see that happening. The other day I literally saw one of the Russian authorities who was bragging in her interview that they literally kidnapped a Ukrainian child, and currently this Ukrainian child is being held in a Russian family, but then they plan to adopt this child. According to the investigators who investigated those thousands of cases of kidnapping Ukrainian children, they said that in most cases Russians literally eliminate their parents one way or another, and then they literally snatch them to the territory of Russian Federation.
Are you referring there to the lady that was talking to Putin?
Yeah, she said like you saw that.
We were so blessed to go down there, and we found our 4-year-old Nasha Solnichka, our little sunshine. And of course, they've killed the family or stolen the child. It's interesting, you know, we're on the same page because this was the last slide I was going to, and of course, we had the information together. What about the children? You talk about the 20,000, but when you start to think, and I get your opinion on this, and then we'll rally the flag. And I've got one last question, raffle the flag. I've got one last question for you. Really, about 1.6 million Ukrainian children are under Russian control. They are either deported, forced to live under occupation. That's the point that we miss many times. We think just about the children that have been, like the example of the lady bragging to Putin, and even Putin with that eerie, evil look sneered at her and asked, how old was she? And she said 4 years old, and just gloated about it. But you think in all the occupied territory, these children are stripped of their Ukrainian identity, their history. They're forced to accept Russian citizenship. Their personal data is changed. And when they get older, they're recruited into military organizations. They are forced as agents of propaganda. So we often think, oh, it's terrible. The thousands of children that have been taken. And I also remind you of the thousands of children that have been killed. We're just on the anniversary. I don't know if it was you posted a picture or somebody, Starsky, about the Mariupol drama theater where the children were, where they were huddled together in the basement, and Russia didn't care. They just leveled it. So the children is a huge, huge story here. And this little boy here in the picture with me, his mother is a major in the Ukrainian military, incredible hero that we do a lot of partnership and work with. And this is her son. He actually had some hearing issues, and through our work together, we were able to help them raise some funds to get him some hearing implants to help this little boy hear better. So this is it's just a face, and you can see him with his thumbs up. But it's a huge, huge story, and it just goes on and on. Last call here, guys. Everybody has responded. I'm going to give it 60 seconds, and then we'll do the raffle. Let's see here. Let me get the last chats here. I don't want to make sure I miss any. I think there was another question for you, and then we'll spin the wheel, and I have my final question for you. Papa Dutch, does the advanced Neptune have a special warhead for the Kursk bridge yet? Good. It can hit it. Stephen Walsh, $2 weaponized doubt. Misfit Toy, $9.99 super chat. At Starsky, at Greg, is there an age limit to join as a medic or a soldier? I don't know the answer to that. I do know, and I've worked with a lot of soldiers who were in their 50s and 60s, especially in medics. Craig Savarisi, $4.99 super chat. Russia having proof that Trump is a paid asset would explain a lot of his behavior. MAGA might turn on him if proof of that came out. Good point. Good comment, Craig. Stephen Walsh, crew member for 4 months. Thank you. Doubt the best food. Let's get healthy. You had a question from Prepper Nation H. It was about the 3rd Assault Battalion being upgraded to the 3rd Army Corps. Ukraine going through their transition to the Corps. You have any thoughts on that while I look at the last ones here?
Yeah, that sounds great. It was a 3rd Assault Brigade, actually, not battalion. They actually had like 3 battalions in the brigade, 3 infantry battalions. In 2020, my God, 2023, I believe. But they grew up, they expanded, and generally speaking, from what I can say, those guys are professional. I know a lot of good guys from that brigade. Roman Trachimets also, Break. He was in the 3rd Brigade as well. I have quite a few friends from that.
I do as well. Linda S. from Australia, $10 super chat. Why should Ukraine have to keep thanking Trump and America just to gain freedom? It's frustrating. And Linda, as an American, I too, I'm grateful, and I spent a lot of time there, to be honest. And this even goes back to USAID, and people want to play that game. I'm telling you right now, my eyes, I don't want to get into the politics of that stuff, but I'm telling you, my eyeballs have seen dozens and dozens and dozens of massive generators that are powering buildings and hospitals and schools. USAID. I've seen it with my own eyes. And that's why, Starsky's saying you get into that narrative, and the reason Ukraine's having to thank the United States so much, you can push that all the way back ultimately to a destabilization factor of Kremlin pushing its narrative, trying to destabilize the relationship between Ukraine and the United States. That's the reason, and we recognize it and fight against it.
I can tell you, brother, because I worked in the USAID, in the projects of the USAID in Ukraine back in 2006 and 2010, I believe. And generally, even like you can confirm, whenever you go to any Ukrainian hospital, any Ukrainian clinic, you will always find some kind of either equipment with schools by educating specialists in Ukraine in absolutely different sectors, budgeting reforms, heating reforms, education reforms, marketing reforms. So they did tremendous work. I have no idea how they spent 7 billions instead of like 70, because if you take a developing country as big as Ukraine, it means that those money were spent extremely efficiently. I can tell. And I worked 2, 3 or 4 years in those both projects. So I can say that Ukrainian people were always grateful to American people. And we always respected them for the help they provided. We worked with the budgeting reform project where I worked back in the days in 2006. It united hundreds of Ukrainian cities, and we worked directly with local authorities, and they were always grateful. And speaking on behalf of Ukrainian people, they were always grateful to Americans, to common American people, the taxpayers, for the help they provided to Ukraine to so we could be more developed, better than we are, have better welfare due to you, because of you, because of Americans who didn't even know that we existed actually. Yeah, so this feeling of gratitude, it's there among Ukrainian people for many years already. That is why we always considered ourselves America's closest allies. And remember, after 9/11, when the fifth article was triggered and NATO members were called to support United States in its fight against the global terrorism, Ukraine also participated, even though we were not a NATO member, even though actually it wasn't like our responsibility. But we were so grateful to American people that we decided that, yeah, we gotta go to Afghanistan and we gotta go demining for the American soldiers. We gotta remove the improvised explosive devices, so our colleagues, our friends from the other side of the ocean, so they are safe, because we are brothers in arms. And that's what we do. That's what we did. We sent between 5,000 and 6,000 Ukrainian servicemen who were there all the time. Also in Iraq, by the way, Ukrainian special forces were also present there. So this feeling of gratitude and friendship was always there between Ukrainian and American people. And you know, I don't remember many cases when Ukrainians would say something bad about Americans in
I
like
completely
almost
agree.
40 years. Yeah, we were always friendly and we always respected you guys.
As well, as an American now responding to you, my Ukrainian friend and brother, I concur completely. So your expertise, if you go back to the USAID, physically working in it and with the processes of it and seeing the fruit of it, and then I will layer on top of that, everywhere I've been, every oblast, everywhere I go, it's all I see is the USAID stickers in the hospitals, on the doors, feeding, you name it. So that confirms that. And then as far as the Ukrainian friendship, there, if you have a Ukrainian as a friend, you do not have a better friend in the world. And so many people have asked me, Greg, you're 52 years old, you got a beautiful family. Why do you leave that and go and get bombed in Ukraine? Well, because I'm fighting with and for my friends. It's like my brothers and my sisters. And I'm telling you right now, if the shoe was on the other foot, and I've said this many times, but this is the truth. If it was America being invaded, for example, by our neighbor, Canada, and just call it as similar, a border nation, and we had the same type of war, and we were volunteering and fighting and helping, my Ukrainian brothers would come to America and they would help us. You can put it in the bank. That's the quality and the character of Ukrainian. And you cannot have a better friend in the world than a Ukrainian. That's a fact. And I've never heard anybody say that about a Russian. I'm just saying. Never.
Russian tourists brother. Russian tourists.
Exactly. Let me get these last ones here, and then we're going to give away the flag. I got them all. Stephen Walsh, Craig's every. Little Miz, UK, 10 quid. Always Slava Ukraine from UK. Thank you. Misfit Toy. No, there's no age limit. We answered that. Stephen Walsh, $2 weaponized doubt. We got that. Papa Dutch, $5 super chat. I already have a rusty truck. Why do I need a Tesla? Good point. Your rusty truck is better. You know they exist. Reminding everybody, 522 super chat. Hey, what about the new Ukrainian war song mocking Trump? Might be called Our Suits Are Made of Steel. Great music video. Saturday release, ? We'll see. Stephen Walsh, $200 super chat. It'll be going to help our guys in Ukraine. And simple comment, but powerful. Truth, unobstructable. Stephen Walsh, thank you for that. And you're right. Tito Valenzuela, crew member for 6 months. He says, I realized I've been watching Greg and Jania for 3 years now. Thank you, Tito, for your support. Stephen Walsh, $20 super chat. Grateful for your service during an illegal war, Iraq. We know. Stephen Walsh commenting. Mitch Ashdown, Canadian $10. Want to offer my sympathies to Americans affected by the recent storms and tornadoes. Yes, Mitch, we've had some crazy, crazy weather here. Misfit Toy commenting on what you said there, Starsky. I met Ukrainian volunteers at Ground Zero during the operations of 9/11. I was there for 9 months. Carl Green, crew member for 8 months, and Nikki Hill, crew member for 12 months. Thank you to all of you guys. Now, I'm going to prep to give away the flag. Thank you guys for signing up. Starsky, while I do that, I have one question for you, and we'll close out. And it is, what are you expecting to hear? I want you to try to be prophetic for a minute. What are you expecting to hear as a result of the call tomorrow scheduled between Trump and Putin? If you were to guess, what are you expecting to hear?
What I want to hear is that
Okay.
Russia withdraws from Ukraine.
Ways. What do you want to hear?
Basically, that Russia withdraws from Ukraine, returns Ukrainian children back home, and pays us the reparations for all the evil they've done. But what I truly expect is that, unfortunately, Ukraine will be facing new demands that were literally passed from Putin through Trump to Ukraine. So that is something that we will see. There will be a lot of negotiations about this and that territory. Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Again, I believe that Ukraine will be pressured to just give it to Russians and things like that. I hear a lot of I read a lot of commentaries, for example, that you have to make peace finally because there's so many people dying, and you don't want to bring us to the World War III, etc., etc. But how do you make peace with people who want to kill you? How is this exactly? Do you allow them to kill you? Unfortunately, I have bad news. Ukrainians don't want to sacrifice themselves in order to make several people panicking there, and wearing red hats, just a bit more relaxed. Unfortunately, we do want to live, and we will fight for our survival, no matter the demands, no matter what other people decide. We want to live, and we will keep fighting for it. It was not our choice to have this war on our land. It was not our choice to be bombed, and we also expect the criminals to face responsibility, because we don't live in the society where you can just come and take whatever you like from a different person based on the fact that you're stronger. No, if we respect the law, we should obey the law. If we want the law to work and to have order and safety, security for our kids, we should protect the law. And if it doesn't work, then Why the hell are we even call ourselves a society? We're just a crowd. We're just a tribe. I don't know. We're just animals then.
I'm going to now, if you guys missed the early part of the stream, please go back and watch it when we were speaking about talking points, Trump's talking points, Putin's talking points being the same. So, Starsky, what you just said, so interesting, because 2 days ago on video, or yesterday, Trump blamed Ukraine for being a small guy that picks on a big guy. I don't know if you saw the video clip or not, but I did a video and I put that information out. It's that same talking point. You know, as you were saying, we didn't ask to be bombed. We didn't ask to be stolen from. We didn't ask to be raped. We didn't ask to have our children stolen, our future, everything. And then Trump comes with that talking point. Well, you know, the little guy should never pick on the big guy. Well, I've got news for you. Little guys can beat big guys. That's just how it is. So thank you for that. And it's going to be interesting what we hear. You guys now have Starsky's opinion. Let me go over here. Let's do this. Blonde Bombsheller, great moderator. She's the best, man. Thanks, Greg and Starsky, for all you do from the Cape May kids and mom. That is from New Jersey. Thank you, BB. All right, Starsky, hang around for one more minute, and we're going to see who wins this flag tonight. Good luck, everybody. Let me do this. Going to show you now. There's me and Starsky. I've already transferred your names here, not your email addresses. We have 157 entries. Good luck, everybody. One winner. And we're going to do one winner. Wheel of names. And we're going to go with the... let's go with, I'm feeling sun-kissed nature as our color scheme tonight. And there it is. Everybody, there's your names. And we're going to pick a winner at random. Good luck, everybody. Drum roll, please. Here it comes. A little bit of confetti, fireworks, boom. And the winner is Alberto Perez Valencia. Alberto. So mods, can you check and see if Alberto is in the chat for me, please? Alberto. Is Alberto here? If not, we'll give him 60 seconds and we'll spin it again. Starsky, thank you so much.
He says I'm here.
He's here? Awesome. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Congratulations, Alberto, on winning the flag. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I will be emailing you immediately after this stream. And guys, this is what we say. I know it's from myself, and I can also include Starsky in this right here. That one. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, guys. Some of our team we work with there. The guy to my right there in that picture, Starsky, is call signs Wasp. And the man has spent a lot of time. He's still fighting. Great hero, but lots of time in Karakova. So knows it well as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to the team members. Alberto, I'll be emailing you. So be looking for that. Give me your mailing address. We'll get the flag out to you. Congratulations. Starsky, thank you. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for inviting me, and big thanks to all the moderators and our amazing community. I cannot call them viewers. I always want to call them family, because they turned into my family over these 3 years. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting Ukraine. As always, be safe and have something tasty today to reward yourself for spending this hour watching us.
I agree completely. And guys, it was honor to have Starsky here with us tonight. So much good information over the last hour and 45 minutes. Just powerful. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed to Operator Starsky, make sure you do. Or if you're here, you've been fumbling through YouTube and you discovered this live, make sure you got the subscription in there, or leave us a comment, turn the notification bell on, because I think the pace is only going to pick up from here. And we want to be fighting with truth and information and justice for Ukraine. You guys be blessed. Starsky, stay in the green room 1 minute, and I'll tell you goodbye. Be blessed, everybody. Thank you for everything.
Слава Україні!